I like to think that we all could just have a nice little get together in the parking lot of our local grocery store. We could all hang out together, meet each other in the parking lot, grab some grocery carts. We could all go, like, what this would actually be kind of cool, wouldn't it? We could all walk into that grocery store with our carts, ready to shop healthy together and get our foods that we want. And we're together. We're accountability buddies. We're grabbing the things that the labels on those nutrition facts say are good. And we're going through the register and like, wow, this is going to make tracking our food and what we eat and how so much easier for those of us who are tracking, because tracking is not necessarily correct for everybody. And then we could just, slide into amazing results with our health, our vitality, our fitness, and the number on the scale and how much strength and muscle we gain. I wish it was that easy. But the problem is, friends, our nutrition facts labels. First of all, I love our nutrition facts labels. I'm really glad we have them. They're important. They help us at least get in the ballpark of what we're eating. But did you know that the nutrition facts labels, those are the things on the box, the carton that say, I think we all know what they are, right? We know. Those labels that say how many calories are in it, that is standardized across the United States. And actually, we see them around much of the world too. Manufacturers can be off in their reporting by as much as 20% before the Federal Drug Administration, FDA.gov, before they even bat an eye. Now, 20%, not a big deal. But let's pretend somebody gave you $100 and you're going to go buy a pair of shoes. Yeah? You go into the shoe store, you got $100, you want to buy a new pair of tennis shoes, and then you go to pay and they're like, oh no, that's actually only an $80 bill. Or you go up to pay and they're like, oh, this is actually a $120 bill. And you never know. You never know, because your $100 bill could be an $80 bill or it could be a $120 bill. You never know because it's not regulated, right? Well, that's not how money works, right? But that is how our nutrition labels and nutrition facts are working. This, if you are eating a lot of food that comes out of a package that has a nutrition label on it, you have got to know that the number of what you're actually eating on any of these ingredients can swing 20% in either direction before anything happens. And I've heard lots of people say like, oh, it could be as much as 25% off. I tried to figure out where that number came and I'm not seeing it. I think they're just being hyperbolic and projecting and exaggerating a little bit. So I went into the actual FDA.gov Regulatory Information Manufacturers Responsibility website. So I literally went in FDA.gov, type. Okay, what is the actual, if I'm a manufacturer of a food, what does this food label have to be? The reason I'm telling you about this is because it's going to help you, maybe some of you, identify why you're not seeing the progress you thought you were seeing, or why you seem hungrier than you thought you would be after eating certain things. So let me go through this. We're going to geek out here a little bit, but I think you'll find this fascinating. So FDA.gov, regulatory information on manufacturers' responsibility for reporting on the nutrition facts label. Manufacturer's responsibility. Here we go. This is straight from the FDA's website. These are the people who make the regulations. FDA's continuing policy since the 1970s. Friends, the 1970s was not 30 years ago. Since the 1970s, assigns the manufacturer's responsibility for assuring the validity of a product's label stated variant nutrients. Okay. That's a bunch of big words for saying that the manufacturer is responsible for stating what the nutrition facts are. So all the food labels you see, that manufacturer of the food label did their own testing, compliance, whatever, to say what it is. So let's go a little bit further and see what exactly are they saying. Once the manufacturer for the food company figures out what their calories, protein, carbs, fiber, sugars, saturated fats, those things that they're required to report, they are not required to submit their database of information to the FDA. The FDA, Federal Drug Administration, they encourage the industry to submit the labeling, but they don't require it. It explicitly says right there. In order to evaluate, this is right from the FDA's website, in order to evaluate the accuracy of a nutrition label information against a standard for compliance, the FDA regulations define 2 nutrient classes. Here we go. We're going to geek out here. This is going to be fun. Class 1, Class 2, and a third group of nutrients. Okay, this is just too fun. So there's a Class 1 nutrients, there's Class 2 nutrients. So they say there's 2 classes of nutrients, and then there's a third group of nutrients. 2 classes and a third group. Okay, so what is Class 1? These are straight from the website. Class 1 nutrients are those added in fortified or fabricated foods. I can't even believe we say the word fabricated foods. These are vitamins, minerals, protein, dietary fiber, or potassium. Class 1 nutrients must be present at 100% or more of the value declared on the label. Okay, let's put this in plain English. If I'm building a cereal, let's say, and my cereal's nutrition is crap. So I want to add some vitamins. I want to throw in some fake fiber, maybe some alcohol sugars. I want to throw in, some minerals. So then on the box, I can say, fortified with vitamins and minerals and a high fiber food, carb balance. If I want to do all that monkey stuff with my food, those kind of things, the vitamins, the minerals, the fiber, those have to be, if I get audited, kind of like our taxes get audited, right? If I get audited by the government, that cereal that I made darn well better have 100% or more. It doesn't say how much more. That's what's a little bit scary. But you can trust it has that much or more of the added stuff. Okay. Class 2 nutrients. Here we go. Class 2 nutrients are, this is from the website, vitamins, minerals, protein, total carbohydrates, dietary fiber, other carbohydrates, polyunsaturated, monounsaturated fat, potassium that naturally occurs in a food product. Class 2 nutrients must be present at 80% or more of the value of the label. Okay. So now what we're saying is if we're adding crap back to my cereal, and that crap that I'm adding back in happens to be naturally occurring, so actual vitamins and minerals that are naturally occurring, proteins, the other kinds of natural dietary fiber. We're like the Class 1 is things that isn't even real food. Class 2 is things that's kind of more real food. Those must be present at 80% or more of the value. Okay. Now, so that's just nutrients and stuff. Now let's get to this third group. Okay. I'm going to read this third group a little more slowly because this third group is the part that's the most important, because this is where we start looking at calories and our macros. Here we go from the website. The third group nutrients include calories, sugars, total fat, saturated fat, cholesterol, and sodium. However, for products such as fruit, drinks, juices, and confectionaries with sugars content 90% or more, we don't care about those. Okay, who cares? Those on the nutrition facts labels, and those are the ones people tend to look at the most. How many calories is in this? How much fat is in this? How much sugar is in this? Those must be get me here, 120% or less of what the label says. That's right. Okay, so let's translate this to English. Let's pretend I'm a mood facturer, a food manufacturer. Maybe I do manufacture moods too. I like that. I'm a mood manufacturer, a food manufacturer. What all this mumbo jumbo means is that as a food manufacturer, I can game the system some so that what I put in the package benefits me in my profits. So let's pretend I am making a cereal and I want to advertise this cereal as healthy. I want to say it's full of fiber, and I want to help people feel as full as long as they can on this cereal. I can legally, completely legally, as a manufacturer, rather than giving you 100-calorie bowl of cereal, I could say this bowl of cereal is 100 calories, even though it is actually 120 calories. And I can, say it's my diet cereal. I could say it's high fiber because I threw in a bunch of that fake fiber or fake food that's technically fiber. I can say it's carb balanced. But what the people who buy my cereal don't know is they might feel a little fuller because that cereal actually has more calories in it than what I'm saying it has in it. Yeah. That also could mean if I don't care about diet and weight in my target audience, I can jet people by 20%. I can manufacture my food so it has 20% less in there than it actually says on the label it has. And it's totally fine. Now, do I think that this is a hill I want to die on? Do I want to run to Congress and the FDA and say, we need to make laws to make this more stringent and regulate this more? No, not at all. But this is where education is power. And this is where getting back to eating whole foods is super important, because a lot of times individuals who have the best results when it comes to weight loss, a lot of times they're eating as much whole and fresh foods as possible. And part of the reason why is because when you're eating these processed foods out of a meal, if you're eating a 2,000 calorie diet and the foods you happen to pick are hitting that 20% more, you could actually be eating a 2,400 calorie diet and not know it. Or if you're aiming for a 2,000 calorie diet and you're eating all processed foods and is 20% less, you could actually be eating a 1,600 calorie diet and not know it. And then when you go to Whole Foods and eat Whole Foods, if you've normally been eating 2,400 calories, but you think you're eating 2,000 calories, and then you go eat 2,000 calories of Whole Foods and you feel like you're starving because you've just reduced your calories by 400%, but you don't know that. Yeah, mind blowing. So, what do we do with all of this? Thankfully, all hope is not lost. We don't have to take our grocery shopping party and wheel empty carts out of that grocery store together and walk out with our tail between our legs and feeling like the whole world is out to get us. No. That is not the life I want to live. I like living the life I have today, working with what I have today, not worrying about solving all the world's problems. This one is really solvable, really easy. The first step is knowing that no matter what, there is no way that we can do absolutely perfect tracking. Even the podcast that I've done on those other weight loss episodes, that tracking is the tracking to the best that I can, knowing that these food labels are not perfect, knowing that even when I eat, healthy, like a fresh apple, right? You could eat a fresh apple, but like maybe one apple is more watery than the other apple. There's more water content in it. Maybe one apple is more sugary and sweet than the other apple. I mean, these are real things. There's no time we'll ever have it absolutely perfect. And that's not the point. So that's the first piece. And that becomes important because it helps us obsess less. It helps us keep a healthy mind frame. And it helps us know, like, this is not ever a perfect science here, ever. The second piece we want to do is we want to then, when we are tracking, if we are tracking, we want to look at what we're doing week over week. And then we want to see how is our body responding to how we are eating. So if we eat a certain way and in 6 weeks, our body is weak and we're always tired and we're lethargic and the scale's not going anywhere, even though we want to go, we know, Houston, we got a problem. We need to adjust something. Or if we're eating and we've got amazing, vitality and energy and we feel great, but the scale is going up and up and up and up and up. We know we need to check and see, is that scale going up because we're legit gaining muscle mass and we're getting leaner and stronger? Or are we actually gaining more and more and more fat? What the answer is there is going to determine whether or not we have a problem either. Or are we maintaining and are we finding that holy grail of feeling great where we are and having strength and not feeling tired and sluggish? That's where it becomes meaningful, because we can get caught in that rabbit hole, downward spiral of trying to look at the numbers across the nation and try to say, okay, according to the average woman who's 5 foot 3 inches, 174 pounds, she should be eating this much and this much and this much. It's like, well, maybe. But just the fact that our nutrition labels can be off by as much as 20%. And if one person eats all processed foods and everything they eat is on the high end of that 20% error, and another person eats all processed foods, but everything they picked happens to be on the low end of that 20% error, they can be eating wildly different amounts of foods. One person on who thinks they're eating 2,000 calories could be eating 2,400 calories. Another person who thinks they're eating 2,000 calories could be eating only 1,600 calories over 6 weeks. That is a huge, huge discrepancy. I'm sitting here smiling because knowing this information is empowering and powerful, because knowing you can't trust a food label completely makes it so you can work with what you do know. And what we do know is we don't know. And that's okay. So there we go, straight out of the FDA website. Manufacturers, these labels also, one more just a side thing, they don't have to be validated. It really is kind of like your taxes. You do your taxes, you submit your taxes, you get your tax return, and unless you get audited, everything is fine. Same thing for food manufacturers. Now, obviously, their FDA does a lot of testing all the time, but not every single thing does get tested ever, and not everything does get caught ever. So just know that. No, it's one more reason why, as much as possible, knowing what you're eating by eating whole foods you can actually see, not just foods you recognize on a label of a package. That is the best way to go always when the world is perfect, the sun is shining and the stars are aligned. And I know, life's not perfect, but at least we got some kind of a benchmark to aim for. So there you go. If you have any other questions about this whole nutrition label thing, reach out to me. I would be happy to answer more of it. But I just think some of this geeky stuff is really fascinating. So, alrighty, friends, head on over to couchtoactive.com. We got a workshop coming up November 3rd. Is that right? November 3rd, my awesome weight loss workshop. You don't want to miss out on that. It's going to be live with yours truly, and we're going to get you up and running. So head over to couchtoactive.com, check out what that's all about, and I hope to see you there.